It is a great honor and privilege to introduce Lili Hershkowitz. Your maiden name was Grimm, and you were born in Serbia, in the former Yugoslavia, and we're here in your beautiful apartment in Jerusalem, and it's just such a pleasure to meet you, and I'm so grateful for you relating the story of your family and yourself. So if you could mention a bit about your family, where you grew up, and the time in the Shire.
Hello, I'm Lili, and here I am in Jerusalem, in Ahuzat Bet HaKerem, a sheltered senior home in the apartment 383. I have a little apartment where I live and love. My past comes from Yugoslavia, from the town of Subotica. I was born in 1930, so I'm already 91 years old almost. My parents, Victor Grimm, my mother, Clara, wrote. My father came from Churok, Hungary. My mother was born in Subotica, as Clary wrote. Most of the family were in the Holocaust. Most of them passed away in the Holocaust. There are only a few survivors of the Holocaust. I today, and my late mother, Clary Grimm, wrote. She passed away in 1982. She was the greatest friend of my life. She loved me and I loved her. My father was taken away in 1944 forever to Auschwitz. He went through all the terrible places you can just remember. Auschwitz, Dachau. His last day was in March 1944. 3 days before the liberation from the Germans, he died from hunger with a piece of bread under his head. And then he was put in a little child cart and put in the cemetery. It's near München. There you have 70 camps like that. And there he was buried with all the others. Wiesen-Ebensdorf is the name where he put. One of the survivors, not alive anymore, he came in 1945 and told us the story about father and that he passed away. Then I remained in Subotica until I came in Israel in October 1957.
Lili, can I ask you, you have pictures of and here's a picture of your grandfather, a beautiful picture of your grandfather. Did you remember your grandparents?
My grandparents wrote Armin. He had a big factory of hats, but he built when in the Turkey they decided that the hat what they were, what was the name, ambush, shouldn't be worn anymore. So they decided they want to have somebody who could deliver hats. So my grandfather took a car with horses, arrived there, and he got the assignment. And he put the turkeys into hats. And that put him into a millionaire.
And is this the grandfather, the picture, and that was your mother's father? And do you remember him at all?
Of course. He passed away at the age of 84.
What did he? Was he also?
Was a wonderful man.
Did he also die in the Shoah?
Not in the Shoah. He lied in his bed in Subotica when he was 84 years old. We all been during the Shoah in Budapest.
So I just
By
want to
the
ask,
group of Dr. Kastner, we've been saved. Dr. Kastner is a relative of mine. Mainly his wife is a relative of mine. And when Eichmann came around and they organized the transport to Palestine, and Eichmann got the money for munition, then the Jews from Budapest gave the money, and from that they bought what they needed for the German army. So we were put on the list. From Subotica we were deported to Bácsalmás ghetto.
In what year?
In June 44.
And you remember it very well?
Of course.
And before you were deported, I mean, here I'm going to just show, this is a picture that you have of in your home.
On the terrace of my home. No, that is the home.
This is your home.
Yeah. In Subotica.
And growing up in your home, did you mix with the local children? Did you go to a school?
Jewish.
It was a Jewish school, and they had a synagogue in the town.
A beautiful. I have the picture. It is under the UNESCO reserves.
And did you have any non-Jewish friends as well, or was it mainly?
Well, later on I had a lot of non-Jewish friends, and also in the class we had not only Jews.
So I think here, if you could show these pictures, you had a beautiful home in...
Yes. That was the dining room.
Of your home in...
Subotica.
And your parents would take you to Bled as well, in Slovenia, which is today Slovenia.
Holiday.
For holiday. And I think this is a picture of you and your mom in
Bled. Take it.
And you fondly remember Bled?
Yes, of course. There is a beautiful lake with a little church in the middle of the lake. And if you pull the bell, then your wishes will come true.
And here, this is where you learned to swim?
In Bled.
So you and Lili, can I ask, were you only child? So here, I'm just going to show, this is a picture of...
my mom, when she was a little girl.
And then later we're going to just lift up, if I can just show as well, here's a picture
Of my mom. You hold it, it's better.
and she's playing
The piano Steinway.
and this was in your home.
Yes.
And here is a very, very beautiful picture of your
Mom.
dear mother.
Yes.
And is this
It's
picture
a young lady.
is a young
Unmarried yet.
unmarried before she was married? And here is a very beautiful picture of you and your mom, and you both look like sisters.
You hold it.
You were very close to your mom. And your father as well.
Well, when they took away my father that night, he said, "You've been everything to me in my world. You meant everything to me."
And Lily, here is a beautiful, beautiful picture of your father. And this was taken in Dubrovnik. And Lily, can I just ask, do you remember the night when they took your father away? Do you?
They were a group.
So here is
It
another.
was in April 44.
Here's a picture of you can see your father dressed so elegantly.
He is an elegant man, always been.
And this is the original picture of you and your dear mother. They made them, and it's got even the original. It was made into a postcard, and people could send them as postcards. And look what a very special young lady you were, and still are. And this is another picture that was made. Was this in Bled as well? Of you and your you can see you were very happy. And Lily, this is an exceptional special picture as well. This is a picture of you holding your dog,
Mickey.
and you have the twin sisters of Dolly and Dolly's sister, her twin sister.
And Mickey was killed as a Jewish dog
So how
by
did
the neighbors, by a stick.
just because he belonged to a Jewish family? Did you see?
You have a date on the back.
1942.
Then when he 12 years old. Dolly and Maury and I.
And Lily, can I just ask, were you present when the neighbors killed the dog? Were you there? Were you present when the neighbors killed the dog?
When they killed the dog, we've been in the shower. They take out us from our home. I have beautiful pictures of our house in Subotica.
And your friendship with Dolly and Dolly's twin sister, when did you become friends?
Our parents became friends. Our mothers were great friends. We lived 2 blocks away in Subotica.
And were you close to both the twins, or did you have a favorite, or you were close with both, with Dolly and her sister?
Pardon?
Were you close with both twins?
Yeah.
And you kept this friendship all the years?
Yes. until the last moment.
And you remember Dolly's mom?
Of course, Johanna, a beautiful woman.
So, if you could mention also a little bit about your grandmother, if you remember your grandmother.
Yes, I do.
On your mother's side or your father as well?
I found a little picture yesterday, a small one, really will show you, with the grandparents of my father. Really? Really?
Yeah.
You remember where we found my first shoes and the little picture about the grandparents of my father? Yesterday. You remember? With the jewels.
With George.
Jewels.
With George. The picture with George.
The grandparents.
The grandparents.
Here is
In this little golden.
Ah, the gold. Yeah.
and here is a picture with Dolly and Dolly's sister, and above this is in Dolly's home, is a painting of both the twins. And what do you remember, Lily, of your grandparents?
My grandparents,
What did you-
as I told you now, my grandfather with a fabric of hats and turkeys, my grandmother and who were divorced,
Oh, they were divorced.
my grandfather was known with a lady, and then the family of my grandmother said, and now you go apart. But always heard them, because my grandfather was on the side of my grandmother's bed when she passed away.
Oh, wow. And you remember your grandmother?
Yes, I have a picture.
And on your father's side, on your father's side, his parents?
Where are the jewels?
It's.
Maybe where we found the cassette, the safe.
Maybe I will try it again there.
But Lily, you had a happy upbringing.
Yeah.
Growing up, you were very happy.
Of course, every reason for it I had.
And you had a beautiful home
And lovely parents, grandparents, aunts, friends.
And your father's parents, were they alive?
But
Your father's parents, were they also alive when you were growing up?
no, and I wonder whether he ever met them.
Really?
Look at the safe.
It's not there. I already opened.
So here you have a picture of your grandmother Edith.
We called her Petike, the small one. She was small. Petike in Hungarian.
So Lily,
Petite.
can I ask, growing up, what happened when the war started in your town? In the beginning, Yugoslavia, where you were in Serbia.
Listen, Hitler moved in Vienna. It was, I think, in 1939.
In Vienna,
Yeah.
38,
And
with
we-
Anschluss. He did Anschluss in 38.
And we been there on a holiday in Slovenia with my mom. And then we came home because what happened, we heard it from my grandfather on the phone.
And could you feel in your town, could you feel the tension when the war started?
Well, I was too young to remember that.
Did you have to wear, did they
Of
make
course,
the Jews wear
of
the yellow star?
Yes. I told you, the badge came off and I was on my way to be killed to the Danube.
We're going to be still hear about this. But Lili, can I just ask, growing up when the war started, till you were deported in 44, could you walk in the streets or did you feel fear?
No. It was a closed up ghetto. In certain parts of the town, in certain homes in the town, the Jews were taken away from their apartments and there we lived together, families.
And what year was this that you had to go into the ghetto? What year?
44, June 44.
June 44. And you remember having to leave your home?
Yes. I have even a document where they ask us to leave it.
And where did you go? Did they put you
We went in Subotica to a place where we could be until they took us by the trains to the Bacsalmash ghetto from Subotica, all the Jews, in June 44.
And at this time you were wearing...
We were wearing from the April 44 the
yellow star. And did you know what was going on? Did you ask your parents, your
of
mother?
Course.
And the neighbors that you had, did they come and help or were they sympathetic at all?
Pardon?
The neighbors, the non-Jewish neighbors,
Yeah.
did they try to help your family during this time?
No.
How did you know that the neighbors killed your dog?
We didn't have the neighbors anymore. We were taken out from the home, from the house where we had neighbors. There we were in the ghetto. It was a big plot of furniture, wood to be prepared for making furniture. And there was their home in a beautiful garden in the house, and there we been. Until they took us on this morning, on the 16th of June, to the wagons and put us to Bacsalmash in the ghetto, where most of them were deported or to Austria or to Auschwitz. And then we were put on a train by the SS by the request of Dr. Hershkowitz and came to Budapest, where the transport was formed originally to come to Israel.
It was British mandatory Palestine.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, it was.
It was?
Yeah, before it was. Yeah, and then but it never happened. But you were on the list to be on the Kastner train.
Yes, but we decided not to join because my mother said my husband was taken to Auschwitz, and if he comes back, how can he find us? But he never came back. I have his last letter, a card, what they were allowed to send from the border of Germany before they went put to Auschwitz. I have it. And where he writes to my mom, I am well and I hope to see you soon. That I would like to be on the picture.
Lili, this is the original postcard, the last postcard that your dear father wrote
To mom.
to your mother, and I'm sure to you as well. And it was written on the 28th of June 1944. And it was addressed, if we can just show here, it was addressed to Budapest.
It was on the border of Germany.
And if you could read a little bit what your father wrote, if you can, if possible. Is it in Hungarian? Lili, you can read it aloud.
I have to read it first. I hope remélem találkozunk egy nap. A vidék gyönyörű éjjel és nappal. Nem olyan kellemes, langyos levegő van, mint azelőtt, és zöld a mező. Klárika nagysasszony, adj jelt magadról. Sokszor csókollak, Klárikám, mély szeretettel. Elég hegyéhez utazunk. Június 28, 1944.
Can you translate a little bit in English what your father wrote?
Yes, of course I can. Claricam. I hope the day will come and we'll meet again. We are now on our way. It's called Elek May. For June 28. With love, hugs and kisses.
And this is the last message that you ever received from your father.
Right.
This is so valuable. Lili, this is amazing. And because of this letter, which was actually sent, it says here Budapest, and it's got the address. So your mother didn't want to go on the Kastner train.
Because she said, when he will come back, as she said, we'll meet, he will never know where to find us if we go to Israel. So that was the reason we didn't go on the Kastner train, on the Eichmann Kastner.
And did you personally meet with Kastner?
Yes, of course. He met us here.
But did you meet him in Budapest?
Yes. When we arrived from Bacsalmas at the synagogue in Budapest at the Arnona Street, he received us there, Dr. Hershkowitz.
And he was willing to put you on the train because it was very
he
difficult.
wanted us to go with him.
Because he went with his family as well.
Yes. I have the picture of, not of him, but of his wife, and from his daughter, Susie, and her daughter, who is today the minister of in the government, Mihaeli.
She's the minister of the transport.
And she is the granddaughter of Dr. Hershkowitz.
So where did you go? If you didn't go on the train, did he help you find accommodation? Or?
We will be taken to another concentration camp. It was under the German and the Hungarian soldiers were holding the camp, but it was not it was and wasn't a concentration camp. It was a home for homes who couldn't see and couldn't hear and couldn't speak there in the Columbus Street in Budapest. And when the Horthy regime came around, there were a few days of freedom. We could leave the camp, and there on the Vilmos Császár út in Budapest 31 was a big house, and there was a pension with a red star on the house where Jews were allowed to stay. There we lived. And from there on, then they took my mother to the death transport to Germany. and me through the house of the Nazi Germans, Nazi Hungarians. They sold me from the arm of a friend on the river of the Danube. I was taken to a home where they tortured the Jews that they picked up on the street. I was young, optimistic looking, and one of the Germans came around and said, "Come, I need a few strong people to arrange the apartment for me where I want to live, where the Jews who lived there had to leave." So we arranged the apartment for him, and he was so thankful that he brought me home to my grandparents in Budapest, to the pension where we lived. From there,
Was this the grandparents of your father,
of my mother.
of your mother?
And then I had the letter from the Swedish embassy with who take certain people under their
Protection.
yes.
In the glass houses.
And then in Budapest there was a beautiful row of houses in the Lipótváros. One morning they came around, they took the letter, tore it apart, and it's a false one. And so I was put into the transport to be killed in the Danube, where the Tsar started to leave my coat. I ran away. I found my mother in the ghetto, refound her after a while, and then we stayed together. And we went back in February 45 from Budapest to Subotica in our home, our apartment. And in 57, in October, I came to Israel.
Lili, I just want to ask, what you just said, if the yellow star that you had to wear, it was mandatory, if that would have stayed on, they were going to take you to the Danube.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately in the Danube
They
Jews,
shoot us, they shoot them all.
many Jews were shot, and
Yes, all who were in those sheltered homes by the Swedes or by the Swiss.
it was the glass houses.
Yes.
And a lot was the,
I told you it was in the transport also Tommy Lapid, saved by his mother, by pushed him into a toilet after the transport passed on. There are still shoes.
there's a monument with the shoes on the banks of the Danube.
Yes, that's it. That's the spot.
And they were, how did you run away? Were you in a convoy, or did they march you down to the Danube? When you decided to run away,
We've been on the streets of Budapest, walking there.
and you just decided to, it's a miracle that nobody...
That they didn't shoot me on the spot.
And were these mainly Hungarian?
Yeah.
It was the fascist,
Yeah.
they were the Black Arrow,
Yes.
the fascist Hungarians.
Yes.
And were there any Germans as well, or was it mainly Hungarian?
Mainly Hungarian.
It's so hard. And many Jews were shot and their bodies were put into the Danube.
The most of them. There were a few survivors, young ones.
And when you ran to the ghetto, How did you find your mother?
In the ghetto. When she got finally from this death transport back to Budapest, to the ghetto. And by the phone I learned that she is in the ghetto. So I had the address and went there.
And how was your encounter with your mother when you saw your mother?
When I got there and they said, nobody at the age you are telling us is here. I said, show me who came back. When I went into the room, I saw my mother, 37 years old, all white, gone in her hair. And 2 weeks later, they took her again away.
But Lili, can I
And
just...
I remained in the ghetto.
Can I just ask, just...
That is my story, what I told you.
I want to hear... but
That I stayed there crying and praying to God and saying, God, give my mother back. When it will be 10 o'clock, she should walk in. My mother was taken to a home when people were taken again to a walk tour to Germany. And she saw a woman standing at the side with a gendarme. What is her fate will be my fate. So she stood nearby. That woman had a protection, and she was brought back with my mother to the ghetto. That's how we met at 10 o'clock that day.
So Hashem answered your prayers. God answered your prayers.
Yes.
So I just want to ask you, Lili, when you first saw your mother in the ghetto, it must have been the most incredible, moving and profound feeling to know that your mother was still alive. Mm-hmm. Was that one of the most very special moments in your life when you saw your mother again? And when you saw her for the second time, when she returned?
Yes.
You must have just cried and cried. Such a miracle.
A miracle. All my life is a miracle.
And how long did you stay in the ghetto with your mother now?
But
How long did you stay together with your mother in the ghetto? Because now it was near the end of the war.
it was nearby. The Russian came in, liberated the ghetto in 44, January.
For 45?
Yeah,
In 45.
yes.
And how many weeks was this when your mother came back till the Russians liberated? Was it only a few weeks that you were in the ghetto with your mother till it was liberated?
When we been there,
Yeah, till
Together.
till the Russians came. Was it
it was maybe a week or two.
just a week or two?
Then we had a bomb ruined the house. We went down to the shelters, and the Russian took Budapest by the shelters, because every shelter had an exit in, and they opened with the ammunition the door, came in, and all of a sudden I see a bread on my knees. A Russian put it there. A soldier.
And Lili, all this time when you were in the ghetto, you must have been very hungry.
We've been very hungry. We children had a portion of a quarter piece of bread for a day. And we found something leftovers from the people who were driven out from there. Some beans, what we cooked on pianos, what we took apart and put on a fire in the kitchen. A soup, water, beans.
And Lili, can I ask, the Hungarians who were living in Budapest, the non-Jewish Hungarians, did any come and help you?
Anti-Semitic.
They never came to help or to give you food? Or
They're anti-Semitic very bad, until today. The Hungarian.
You could feel?
No, of course, you lived with them there. Now they will have new election. Maybe it will be another regime.
And Lili, can you tell us a little bit about your family connection? You mentioned with Tommy Lapid and...
Tommy Lapid was in the head of the Yugoslavian Ole Yugoslavia. I met him at the kibbutz in Sharamakim. We had a meeting. There I met him.
And how did he survive? You mentioned
I
that...
told you.
If you could just mention again, how did you know the story about...
It is written in his son's book. There is a book.
And he came to your town?
No. Why would he?
But how did your family have the connection with Tommy Lapid?
I had a connection only through the Yugoslavian who met all together at the kibbutz at this meeting. I was listening, he gave lovely, lovely lectures every Friday afternoon on the wire. Political views of him. He was an excellent speaker.
But was he connected to the town
Not
that you...
personally.
Not personally.
No.
And after the ghetto was liberated by the Russians, did you go back to your town?
After the Russian liberated it, we been in Budapest. It's all in Budapest. Mm-hmm. And we had a house in Budapest, in the Museum Körút, opposite the museum there. Beautiful house, these private apartments. And in the apartment where the housekeeper was living and being in the shelter, he let us stay in his little apartment there. And from there on, it was winter, we decided to go back to Subotica, started to walk until we found a cart with horses. And they took us 16 kilometers from there to the first station where a train was leaving. And with this train we arrived on February 45 to Subotica back to our apartment.
And was it free, or were there people living in your apartment?
The people who had in our house a store, they lived in our apartment, received us very nicely. It was a 5-room apartment, and they said, listen, you came back, that's yours, we are moving out.
It's very rare that...
No, it wasn't rare.
Maybe in Yugoslavia, but in other places it
But
was...
there, that's how it was.
And they left?
Yes.
And was the furniture still there?
There were some furniture, even here on the picture where I showed you the room.
This is the picture. When you came back, some of the furniture was still there?
The Nazis couldn't take it away, it was so heavy. So it stayed there.
And the piano?
No, the piano, no. The piano my mother gave to somebody before we had to leave the apartment, and she should take it as her own. When we came back, there weren't so many Steinways all around, so the police knew where to find it. And they found it, and so she got it back. And when she came to Israel, she brought the piano with her. And then we sold the piano here, and from that we bought a little apartment for key money for her in the Metudela Street.
Because the Steinway is very valuable. It's very... But it's amazing that she managed to get it back.
Well, why shouldn't she?
There are many stories where people were given valuables and
But listen, the police was there. It were already the Yugoslavian partisans and Yugoslavia, the new Yugoslavia of Tito.
And Lili, how was it like coming back to your town? The neighbors, were they friendly to you, or?
I tell you, the people who lived there, they were renting the stores down.
And your other neighbors from the other houses nearby, were they very sympathetic, or did they help you and
We
your
didn't
mom?
need help.
Because there are many stories where people went back to Poland, and
No, Poland
It was-
is Poland, and Yugoslavia is Yugoslavia.
it's so true, it's so true. So you felt comfortable going back to Yugoslavia?
Happy.
And what happened with school? Because through these years, you didn't go to school, or it was interrupted.
Of course.
Did you go back now when you came back, or you?
When I came back, I finished gymnasia, I finished the matriculation in 49. Then I started to work as a bookkeeper until I could get on my studies to Belgrade. I wanted to become a doctor. But they didn't accept me, the communists, because I wasn't a communist. So from that stage on, I kept on in the finance job. 37 years I worked. In 85 I went on pension. I worked in the Keren Sort for 20 years. And from then on, I studied Omanut
With art.
a lot.
And Lili, if you could mention a little bit about, we were discussing,
I don't, yeah.
you found, and this is so incredibly valuable, not only valuable, but it's so sentimental. So we did find the locket, the gold locket, and this has the picture, and I'm going to just bring it
Of
very
the
close.
grandparents of my father.
So this is a very old locket.
It must be.
And Lili, you have a very special container here. If you could show.
I'm human,
Okay.
so nobody can see, it's so small.
So here we have, I'm going to take it out. This is a very unique Your parents did this.
No.
This is your first tooth. They came out and they put it in a gold locket, a gold little pendant, and you've kept it all these years.
I didn't even know. Yesterday we found it with. I have a little safe, and yesterday we found it there. We found the safe, and we found that and that.
And you didn't remember that you had it?
No. When I saw it, I remembered I had it once.
And this is the container. This is, you can see it's also very. This is the original container.
Is it?
Yeah. So Lili, can I just ask, what you went through and what you saw, and being in Budapest and being in the ghetto, when you came and you made Aliyah, did you ever want to go back to Hungary?
Of course.
And you've been back?
Yes. We had a meeting in 2004 with all from 49 when we made the matriculation.
From the class?
In the gymnasium in Subotica.
And it's not, it was Jews and non-Jews?
Mostly non-Jews.
And you kept the connection with everybody?
No, but I kept the connection with a lot.
It must have been very special, the reunion.
We made a lovely, lovely lunch at a beautiful place. It's a beautiful lunch. We made photos.
And Lili, from the original, before the war, with your neighbors, besides
very nice neighbors. There were serfs. When the German came in, they came to us. They said, "Come with us to the mountains, to the partisans. They will all kill you. Come." We saw the people all around the railway station, pouring out, going to the mountains, to the partisans. We didn't do it because family, how can you leave behind parents, grandparents, homes, going to the mountains? Nowhere.
Did your mother ever speak to you? Did she ever regret that she didn't
No,
go on the Kastner train?
no. Why would she?
She wouldn't have had to have gone to the ghetto. She could have been...
Well, we are talking about if.
But your mother never had regrets. She didn't say, "I made a mistake, we should have taken the offer and gone."
Leave me alone with souls and remorse
She didn't want
that you
to.
can't picture that. You can't make up history.
And Lili, have you ever been back to, or have you ever been to Poland? Did you ever?
No,
Would you ever go to Auschwitz on a trip, or?
no, I never wanted to.
You didn't want to. Do you think it's a good thing that the youngsters are going on the March of the Living?
Well, it's a plan of education.
But going back to Hungary or Yugoslavia, did you go back to Budapest?
Yes, a lot. I love Budapest. I was there the last time. It was 80. It was my 80th birthday.
And you went to Budapest. And look, today Hungary is one of the strongest supporters of Israel.
Yes,
And the Hungarian people are, in Europe, they're one of the strongest supporters.
yes.
It's amazing how history, it's incredible. So Lili, I want to ask you, during all this time, you had incredible and unbelievable miracles. really, that you ran away when they wanted to shoot you by the Danube, that you found your mother in the ghetto. Unbelievable miracles. How was your faith?
My faith in God was and is. I believe in God.
And you believe that these were these were real miracles. And
I believe when the gong will be gonged, He will take my soul away.
And what message do you give to the future generations? So you've seen history.
My message to the future generation is, you have to believe. You must have a belief. You must find it in your heart. You must find it in your souls that you could survive.
It's a beautiful message. It's a very beautiful message. So Lili, I just want to thank you. I'm just going to, this has really been something extraordinary. And Lili, I'm just so happy. You've never done this video before. You've never spoken about on a video before, but this is a picture of you and
Dolly.
Dolly. And I had a very close connection with Dolly, and at the Shiva I met you, and she spoke about you a lot as well.
Did you hear her speaking about me?
Yes, sure.
Did you?
Sure. You'll see it, I think it's even in the video, but sure, I spent a lot of time with Dolly. And she said she had a very special friend from the town where she grew up, Lili. And but Lili, I just want to thank you, and I just want to mention that for me this has been really the greatest honor and privilege, because it's not easy to relate and to remember the story and what happened to you and your dear father and your family. And you can see you came from such an incredible, unbelievable family. You really did.
A big
And
family.
a big family.
A well-known family.
But you are amazing. You're so positive, and you're just so
It
special.
depends how you see me.
No, you really are. But I really want to thank you, and you should just
I
have.
thank you.
You should just have all of Hashem's blessings and only mazel and bracha, and in good health.
Thank you.
And really, thank you so much. I am so extremely grateful.
I'm grateful. What will you do with this?
It's,
Nothing.
this a lot of people should be watching, because Lili, you are somebody that we can all not only look up to, but we should, please God, try and emulate, because you really are. You are such an example for all of us. But Lili, thank you very, very much. And Lili, this is a picture with you and your dear husband Tzvi. You can see
Decide to
such,
get married.
such a beautiful
59.
picture. When did you decide to get married? When did you meet Tzvi?
At the IMCA YMCA at a concert.
And how old were you?
29. Both he was 30, I was 29.
And where did you get married?
In Jerusalem at the Rebbenite.
And you were married for many years?
65.
65 years.
He passed away 6.5 years ago.
And Lili, your husband Tzvi, he was also a survivor.
He's a survivor, one from Romania.
And did he speak a lot about his experience?
He was a child, 11 years old, when they were taken away from their hometown to Bacău, Romania, and where Tzvi contracted typhus, and his father visited him, got sick, and passed away. So at the age of 11, he was left alone on his own to survive. In 45, with a certificate, he came to Israel with Aliyat Hanoar.
It's a youth aliyah. In 45, straight after the war.
And he lived here in a kibbutz. He went in the army. He fought all the wars. We met, we loved until his last day.
Amazing. That's wonderful. Wow. So you have beautiful memories as well. Beautiful memories.
I live on them.
And Lili, do you have any regrets yourself? Do you have any regrets yourself?
About what?
About anything?
No, I have no regrets.
You happy that you came to Israel, that you came with your mother to live here?
I came here for a holiday of 3 weeks, and I'm still on holiday.
It's wonderful. Wow, Lili, thank you so much, really.
I thank you.